There.
Hello everyone, I would like to call the meeting to order at 5:03. And if everyone can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everyone and thank everyone for coming this evening. We do have a couple amendments to the agenda that you will see on your green sheet. And the first one is there's a correction on the donations report. 8.5, the anonymous donor for the playground install of 1,000 is corrected to Articles Custom Builders. And then also an add 10.7 to approve unpaid medical leave requests for kindergarten teacher Stephanie Lindstrom for the 2018-19 school year.
So moved. I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. We've got one absent right now. Okay, community comments. Community comments is an opportunity for the public to address the school board on a school-related item in accordance with the guidelines that are printed on the back of the agendas that can be found on the table over there. All remarks should be addressed to the board as a whole, not to any specific member or to any person who is not a member of the board. Please be aware that disrespectful comments or comments of a personal nature directed at an individual, either by name or inference, will not be allowed. Personnel concerns should be directed first to the principal, then to the superintendent, then in writing to the board, and also please refrain from making comments at other times during the meeting. And we have one person for community comments, and that is Sue Nelson.
Hello.
Hello.
It really hit me on your agenda 10.6 that you're hiring a new language arts instructor. And I just want to publicly say after 27 years, that's been my joy. But going into the special education department is also going to be my joy. So I did not take it lightly, but I'm very excited. And I mean, language arts teachers go in it for the literature and the writing and my autobiographies. You know, I can give them up, but I am. And I just want you to know that I will embrace it and I'll do the best job I can, and I will take classes and learn more, you know, and thank you for putting it on a variance, but I will give it my all, and I'm really excited. So I just didn't want that to be lost on this.
Thank you so much.
And for the public, these 8th grade autobiographies are cherished by the parents. Delia has hers, and Woody has his, and they are really special pieces of literature. So, will you teach somebody to do that? All these other parents coming along.
Yes.
So.
Thank you. Okay, 6.0 is student highlights and Envirothon.
Look at this.
Kind of see the two trophies there on the table. Last week, our Envirothon team competed in the section competition. We had 3 teams, generally 3 teams of 5, and then you have alternates. Yeah, our teams did very, very well. April Wallstrom has been instrumental in getting Envirothon at this school going, and then with her being out on leave, Mr. Benish took over the reins of that right now. And so we had a team finish first in the section and then third in the section. Both teams will advance to the state competition, which is actually Monday. To give you some kind of visual, we have 8 sections in the state. Ours is the largest section that covers the most land space. So we have 2 of our 3 teams at the top there. You can see we are going to compete in a centrally located situation in Slayton, Minnesota, which has got kind of a nice facility there, and that's why that's the chosen place. So I have, with the blessing of Mr. DeWitt, I have volunteered to help drive the minibus on our 7.5-hour trek Sunday. We'll go down Sunday, and then Coach Benish will lead the group through their competition on Monday, and we'll come back late Monday night. So we're really proud of those kids and really proud of Mr. Benish and Ms. Wallstrom for all the time they've put in. And super excited to see how they do down at the state competition.
Great.
Oh, and
Good
these
luck
are
to them.
the trophies. that
They
they received.
are.
Just briefly, what does the competition consist of?
Like at the section competition, they're kind of given this environmental problem to come up with. How would they, I'm not the right guy to ask exactly, but they'll give you a problem to solve and you're gonna come up with the most environmentally friendly way on how you would solve that, whether it's planting trees to lessen erosion in a certain place, but it's like a problem and you have time to figure it out. They created like a diorama where they had a proposed project to the group and then they present that. And then I believe they bring that same project down to the state competition and share that with the other groups. So I should have brought that. I would have liked to have the kids come in there, but they're kind of double tasking. 3 or 4 of the students are right now at the Concordia Language Village. So to give you an idea of our multitasking, they are immersed in Spanish for the weekend. We will drive down on Sunday, we will pick them up like half in Duluth at a location, we'll pick up those 4 kids, and then we'll go directly to Slayton, and then we're stopping in the cities to pick up another student who's at another function, and then we will go to Slayton. So these students in the last 3 weeks of May are, well, just doing a variety of different things.
Cool. Well, maybe we'll see a picture of it on Facebook.
You will.
And also we have Mr. Hoffman.
Miss.
More than happy to be present to address my favorite school board.
Oh.
So today, I have a couple of intrepid volunteers from our undergrad and our high undergrads that will be leaving us this springtime. So in comes, come on up, come on.
Introduce
I'm not going to be the only one up here.
Santina. Introduce yourselves, please.
All right, I'm David Blackburn.
I'm Santina McMillan.
So these are 2 of our high undergraduates and undergraduates. Santina comes to us from Thailand and this year was at St. Scholastica. And David's just been here being tall for all 4 years and we're very proud of him for doing that. Those who couldn't join were Daphne Lucina, Bryn Soland, Alyssa Martinson, Joe James, Jack Fredericks, Claire Sherburne. And then we also have those same Concordia Language Village students, Andy Kern, Abby Prom, Linnea Hendrickson. I know I'm missing a couple. We got Maya McHugh. So we have a ton of tremendously talented young people who are very sad to see leave us this year, but we're also very excited to see what they do in the future. Do you guys have any questions for our wonderful volunteers?
Excited to see what you're going to do in the future.
Yes.
Same.
And we'll see you on Monday at the awards,
Oh,
high
yeah.
school awards, so we'll see you there.
For sure.
June 2nd.
And then, of course, graduation.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I got to give that speech. I got to write that.
Yes, Mr. Hoffman is the
Yes,
speaker.
I do.
All right.
Thank you.
All right,
Good luck.
thank
you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. 7.0 administrative reports, 7.1 principal report, highlight item.
Thank you, members of the school board, Dr. Crandall, and members of the public and the viewing audience. The one thing I'd like to highlight is just a kind of a special surprise the district received is point number 5. You might recall beginning of this year, we had been expecting about $22,500 of funding for the preschool. We were only able to receive $15,000 of that. We've been able to get that additional $7,500 for this year and for next year. So what that means is that more families can enroll in preschool and have more of their tuition covered if they're in need. So it's very special for the families. We'll be using that for the last 2 months of the school year this year and into next year. So unless there's questions on the rest of the report, I'm good for that.
A question, not on the rest of the report, but how many families don't get to participate because we don't have funding?
No, we always accept families. What it ends up doing is it reduces some of the burden. So there may be a family that starts the year receiving, half off tuition. Some families receive free tuition based on their income. Some receive half off or discounted rates. And they may encounter financial hardship during the year. That changes that, and we're out of scholarship money, so it becomes more difficult for them. But we never turn children away; they're always invited. But this kind of a boost helps make sure that never happens.
So has it happened that we've had a shortfall and then we keep the kids here, so
Yeah.
what do we do then?
Yeah, we end up taking more money
Donations
ourselves.
or,
It's a, all the right up.
oh, okay.
Not this year, the year before that, we were able to get a grant from the Arrowhead Operation Roundup, and that helps too.
Okay.
And that's kind of every 2-year grant we can apply for next year as well, so.
Very good
Yep.
news. Thank you.
Be nice to me.
Assistant Principal's Report, highlight item.
Two highlighted things. One is kind of a bunch of highlights, and one is that we just have all kinds of stuff going on, like I had just mentioned. The kids are busy, highlighted by the awards assembly on Monday, which is kind of a neat way to recognize all of our kids and their achievements. It's also a great way to recognize our community, because our community comes in and gives thousands of dollars back to these students. It's really a pretty incredible ceremony. So I'd invite everybody to come Monday at 1:15 if they could. Mr. DeWitt has been a great guy and said he'd fill in for me as I'm driving the bus back. So that's going to be a fantastic thing. And the other thing is we just have the construction going on, and I'm just daily, I'm just kind of amazed with our staff. With our teachers and our students have really picked up the slack and done a great job kind of being squished together for as long as they have. And we've had to move a couple classrooms, and we had lights out one time, and we just kind of adapted, and a couple of classes went outside once, and we're making the best of it, and students are kind of gearing up for their finals, and we're happy that they're making the progress that they are.
Great. Thank you.
And Mitch, somebody's documenting all these memories that are being made, right? Little notations like, lost
Yes.
the power today, and so it'll be a great little,
Mr. McHugh's been recording with the camera, and I snuck in today because I had to get one of those what am I talking about? The excavators in the rooms. I'm like, when are the chance I'm going to get a picture of an excavator in a classroom? So we had to do that. So, yeah.
Yeah, it looks great. We got a little tour, and they were digging with the excavator.
Mini excavator, yeah.
It's very nice. It's very tiny. It's very small. Okay, superintendent's report.
Just wanted to commend the administration for all the work they've been doing to make sure that our school continues to operate smoothly. They've been doing a great job. As Mr. Dorr mentioned, our staff have been stepping up. They too have stepped up. A great turnout last night at the Grand Marais Award Ceremony for Education that Ms. Maria Burnett, who's here, facilitated that meeting, but we had a very large showing of our staff, which is great to see. And then the other, just recognizing Mr. Nelson for, and the guy, I don't know when he sleeps, but doing a great job. Just the other day, there was an issue that came up. He was there, and he took care of it, let's put it that way, and things kept moving forward. So great to have him working for us. He's a great asset. So.
Good. Ms.
Can I
White.
piggyback on what Mr. Crandall said about last night's education banquet up in Grand Portage? They had they gave each of their, well, number one, they have 100% graduation rate up in Grand Portage with their students again this year. So, that's one thing. But they gave 3 flowers to each of their graduates to hand out to the people that were there that really made a difference in their education and helpfulness, however. But, and I happened to be sitting near Julie Bishop, and she got 4. So I just want a little shout out to Julie Bishop, because whatever she's doing, she is really making a difference. So.
Great. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, 7.4, goals report. What's that?
Really, when you get down to it, the diversity committee, I think they just continuing to meet, probably reconvened then on the start of the school year. That's mentioned, on the financial side for that goal, we just continue to move forward. The project's up and running, obviously with our construction. We're going to operate the food service program again this summer, which will benefit not only our food service program, but obviously our children. And then staffing is being worked out. Dr. DeWitt's and Mr. Dorr doing a great job getting those interviews lined up with, and the board members are participating in that and getting staff. And so we do have a few outstanding positions, so we hope to get those, in place by the end of this month, if at all possible, if not by the end of June. Registration's done, and they've got the schedule set for next year, so we're moving forward. Continue to work on the budget, and we'll hear more about that, and June meeting, we'll have a budget for you to approve.
And then can we get, I don't think we're gonna see that tonight, a breakdown of who's taking what next year, where everyone's falling?
We can get that, we can bring that to our next board meeting.
Okay, just so we have an idea of, I like to see
Yeah, definitely.
where everybody falls, so that would be great. Okay, 8.0, the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda anyone would like pulled for discussion? You can see in there we do have several resignations, professional resignations in there. We had several of them. We just put that in the consent agenda, and there's letters in our packet. I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Okay, 9.0, discussion action items. 9.1, to approve the expenditure revenue report, April 2018. Lori, do you have any comments?
No, there's just a lot yet to happen this school year. I mean, it probably looks really good and where revenue's at versus our expenditures, but we still have to pay out the teacher contracts at the end of the year. I spend a lot of time in July and August doing journal entries to put money in the right spot, and so that it just kind of looks skewed right now, like more revenue, but versus like, let's say the bus revenue doesn't show any, or transportation revenue doesn't really show anything. That's because it all gets moved around and shuffled around when I go to workshops in July. But no, I think we're on the right track. I think it's still going to be a good outcome and try to meet our goal, our 15% goal, and then, so.
And
Yes.
Special education typically comes in July, a lot of those.
I still get a lot of
buildings,
bills, yeah, I get a ton of bills for sped in July and August.
And Lori did locate what our fund balance policy was. I'm sorry, I should have shared that with everybody. But at the end of this school year, it was at 15%. So, of course,
so that's our target.
that's our target for this year. So then next year, we would be at 17%. But 15%, not a dollar amount attached to that,
Right.
because 15% of.
It changes.
fund balance. It changes.
And so,
So we believe we're gonna come in great there, which is great news. That means we're on track. So,
Is that number represented somewhere on this?
It's 15% of our general expenditures, general fund expenditures, so
Gotcha.
at the end of the year, when we see what our expenditures are, we take 15% of that and
Sure.
compare it to what our fund balance is, basically.
so hopefully, we won't know that till, like Lori said, till July or August. maybe.
Right.
Sure.
So like,
But
and just a
we'll be-
rough one, you could take the 1, 3, and 5 expenditures total at the bottom of the current year kind of thing, and take 15% of that, and that's kind of our target. I would use the budgeted 1, 3, and 5 number, not the expenditure, the budgeted 1, 3.
But it's positive news. I think it's good news.
yes.
And, barring any unforeseen things, we'll be on track, which I'm really happy to hear, because that's what we've been trying to do.
I'll make a motion to approve for the expenditure report.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 9.2, bond update.
So you have that in your packet. Under security and technology, we did a few things in April and then here in May. Just some front door entrance bill and then work with one of our buses to get, or a couple of our buses for, get the cameras involved there. Nothing in the area of roof at this point. Bus garage, no change there. We do have some work that needs to be completed there, and then when that's finally done, then we'll have the final payment out for that.
So we still don't have the final payment out for the bus garage?
Correct.
Okay. Do we have an idea of what that's gonna be?
The dollar amount?
Yeah, just curious.
Yeah, I don't have that with me, but I know exactly what it is to the penny.
Okay.
I don't have it with me.
Well, is it 100,000? Is
Oh,
it
no, no,
10,000?
The
Is it?
balance, no way, 40?
Okay,
I don't remember, no.
I
I didn't know I was gonna get asked that.
well, not to put you on the spot.
I did pay some in the last group of bills that, after I ran that list for Pam. So I did pay some there, and I think Chris saw that in the bills he reviewed. And then, I don't remember the number either.
I thought it was in the 30s, but I'm not 100% sure.
That's right, I'm not, that's.
Because it's a substantial amount where they're gonna come back and finish it in
Right.
order to get it. And we-
Yeah.
we made sure that, working with Ryan, that we had that large enough amount to warrant them to, oh yeah, we better come back or we're not gonna get this money.
How much over the, I see what the bid was. How much did it go over because of, like ledge rock and things that could not be determined before then? How much over was it? Just by
Ballpark.
25,000, 30,000?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, there was rock that they hit.
Yeah.
We had done a series of soil borings and we had an anticipated
Sure.
location of where that was in depth. Parts of the site just, weren't accessible because normally we would have tried to do a couple of borings inside the footprint of the old bus garage, but they didn't have enough height to tip their drill rig up inside
sure.
of there. So we weren't able to do that, so we had to kind of go off a couple of spots outside of the building. They ended up removing for half of the footings, I think it was probably about 3 feet. And so, they also had to blast in for some of the utilities.
Wow.
So I want to say the rock was like 25,000 by itself.
On the report, we have the revision, change order of 21, almost 22,000, 21,900.
And there's a couple other things that we did where we got credits back and so forth as well. So we tried to balance those as best we could, and we're supposed to be out working on it this week. I don't know 100%, Tom, if they didn't do the seating and stuff yet. They were supposed to get it done by the end of this week is what I was told, but I was up last week on Tuesday. Tom and I went over after the construction meeting for the Science and Culinary Arts, and we went over and took a look just to see what was left. I made an updated list as I saw it and sent it to them, and they were supposedly working on that. I was gonna drive by there after, but
Yeah, same here.
save my trip, yeah.
Just wondering, because that obviously, that was with over, and so I'm just, trying to see where that's finally gonna land.
Yep.
And where, because that affects
Yeah, and
the other things.
we did process a change order, which would be for the final, any changes or anything that's outstanding. So there are no more unforeseens. All the work is spoken for in the contract at this point. And so I can certainly get you that number.
We'll have that for more for June.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully if we paid it by
Because
then,
by
it'll
that
be
time,
updated on
It'll
here.
be updated on
He'll be
there,
done
so
by
we'll have
then,
all that information to be right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I've already taken that change order into account on that.
We'll have the details though.
Yeah,
Perfect.
it's already-
Thank you.
Vehicles, we have for the staff, Mr. Nelson's purchasing vehicles.
No more.
Deferred maintenance, we did do a few, just some bills were paid, some ceiling tiles, North Shore Waste, some bills paid in there, as you can see, Arm Cotton as well. FF&E, we're working on some of those projects now to get, some desk, tables, stools, along those lines for our projects. So you'll be seeing some changes there in our next.
Is that for the culinary arts and
Yes.
the science.
Science,
Okay.
yeah.
Is it
Science,
just-
science just needs chairs, culinary arts needs chairs and tables.
Is it just for those, or are we using
No.
that money to buy
We'll
other
be able
things
to
for
use
the
that for other
school?
things for the school.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that could be a potential area that, I mean, obviously we should replace broken things, but
Yes.
if we need to recoup some savings, that we can dip into that.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we need to make sure that-
One big old checkbook and make sure we do not go over.
Yeah, I know you heard me, I know I'm saying this over and over, but I'm just trying
It's
to,
your personality.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
It's important.
It is important.
It is important, I just,
Yeah.
I don't
So
want to-
you'll start seeing, we don't have anything updated in the science labs, but you'll start seeing things coming through now that the project's really in full swing. And then culinary arts, you can see that we did do some things there, some ARA stuff, store more, some Amazon things, store more is.
Our storage containers.
Our storage containers. So we have 2 large storage containers for this whole process going through, and so that's been taken care of. Yeah. So that is your update.
Great. Okay, so 9.3, culinary arts and science room update, ARI.
That's me.
Ryan?
I guess I'll stand up, so I
Yep, that'd be great.
come to the front.
Yep,
I drove all the way up here, I might as well.
might as well get your
make
time
my-
on camera, yes.
Make my face known, right?
You washed his face.
Yeah, big shave, but yeah, so, things have been moving along fairly well. Abatement, I think they just opened up the culinary arts space.
Yesterday.
Yesterday, so they got approval on that, so the abatement is complete.
So could you just share with the board members what the abatement, when you reference that, what that entails?
Yeah, so the abatement included a few different things. So flooring was one of them. So there's several areas that have asbestos floor tile. That was probably the biggest part of it. There were several chalkboards or tack boards that had asbestos pucks and the adhesive, that they wanted to take that off and get rid of that. That was the bulk of it, I think.
Yeah, the biggest surprise was culinary arts.
Oh, yeah, culinary arts, there was some additional stuff that was found that, you don't always know what's there because you can only test what you can see. And so typically you don't do a bunch of demolition to expose things and so forth. The science lab tops were another thing that was part of that abatement process and so forth. You said you took a tour, so you were
Yeah,
able to kind of see the progress in the science area. And so for the public purposes, basically that area is gutted all the way down to dirt right now. So in order to put in all the new plumbing and so forth, we're removing the entire slab in that area. They probably had, I was here on Tuesday, they had 50% of the slab removed. Tom maybe has a better update for.
It's
it's gone.
It's 100% gone now.
Yeah.
So that's good. I would say that, the concern always is when we start doing demo, that's when we start to find the unexpected conditions, right? Because there's only so much that you can see. I think there's only been really a couple of things that have come up, and nothing of any real major consequence at this point in time, and so I feel pretty good about that. There was a tunnel that we found that nobody knew was there. There was no documentation on drawings, and you couldn't
Wait,
see it.
a tunnel?
Small tunnel, it was like a utility trench, but it was concrete, it was in the way for the plumbing, and so there's some things like that you're gonna find in a remodel. We had original drawings for the building and it doesn't show up on there. So somebody decided it was a good idea at some point in time, and the access to it was basically concealed under the casework on the science room, so nobody knew it was there. So, those are the kind of things that we run into. Otherwise, everything's been going along pretty smoothly.
Where the demoed asbestos tiling and chalkboards, how do we get rid of that stuff?
They haul it away in special dumpsters and basically goes to the same landfill, and they document it is the difference. So it's all tracked back and logged all the way through the process. And it's done under containment, so any, hazardous materials.
And where's
are-
that dump? Is that in Superior? No, really, I'm not kidding. No.
Yeah, I actually,
Superior, Wisconsin, no.
I don't
Lakeville.
know where they were. There are multiple choices for them, and so I don't know exactly where they were hauling it. They are required to keep truck tickets and so forth to document all that. And they have to sign and watch that it's been buried and so forth, so. and they keep it under containment, and then they have air testing. We did have a little bit of a hiccup where I think a couple of the small areas were delayed on getting the clearance for the air quality before they could take the containment down. But we don't feel that that delayed the construction at this point in time, because it was in areas that they weren't quite to yet. So that was positive. Getting the culinary arts space available to them this week was good. That was very positive, and so you're going to see, I think next week, that part of the building will be gone, is what we're anticipating. So they're working on their plan in order to kind of remove that, as far as disconnect it from the rest of the building, so that when they come in to take that down. So you will start to hear some little bit bigger equipment out front, and there'll be a little bit more distractions out front of the building.
So when you say take that down, so we are taking out the one wall of the main part of the culinary arts room, correct?
The exterior wall
The
goes
exterior
away,
wall.
and the whole roof structure of that area comes on. Yeah, so that was a design decision that was made for, I think there's about 3 or 4 reasons why we did that. One was because the existing structure didn't have the structural capabilities to support the mechanical equipment we needed. 2, it wasn't high enough to allow for the proper ventilation in a culinary arts space. 3, not having that structural capacity would have limited any insulation as well. And so this way we're able to put new insulation on there. And just, and we were really restricted by where that structure was, because that was a bearing wall. So now we've got a column and beam system, so it opens up a lot of flexibility for us as far as making that space fit in there. So I think from what it sounds like, it sounds like the relationship with the contractor has been going very well. As far as the interaction with the district staff, I think, again, I would like to reiterate, from my perspective, and the stories that I've heard, I think that the district is doing a phenomenal job of working with the contractor and being flexible in order to help them out and make their job as easy as possible. I think the contractor has been pretty good to the school as well, as far as.
You should give the contractor credit on camera as to what his name is?
No.
No,
I
you
don't
don't
wanna
do that?
No, I can't. Yeah, they're on a great job. Superintendent's name is Scott Chevalier from Max Gray, and he is a very thorough individual. I've worked with him in the past. I was actually very pleased to hear that he was going to be here. I think it's probably a little different approach than we had at the Tech Ed and the contractors there. I think he's just a little bit more thorough, and I think it's been helpful to the project at this point so far. And as far as communicating, it seems like he's been communicating well with the district staff. They're shaking their heads yes, so.
Fantastic.
Good.
Yeah. So as far as I know, right now, everything seems to be on track for the timeline. There's going to be, again, unforeseen things, but as we get to this point, the science area was a little more scary to us because the culinary arts is coming off completely. And so that's basically, after next week, that's going to be new construction. So unless, they haven't started digging yet, so once they start digging, there is potential we could find something, but.
The rest of the tunnel?
There is a tunnel there, actually, and we knew that one was there, and so that one's anticipated. And we're doing work to seal that off and remove all the abandoned piping that's in that part of the tunnel that just got left at some point in time because it was pretty common practice, that just abandon things in place. The rules don't really allow for that as much with electrical conduits and so forth anymore as they once did, so, which is a good thing. So the goal is as we're doing all this, is we're trying to clean everything up. And so with the power outages and stuff, there's a lot of things that aren't labeled well. And I think Mr. Nelson has done a pretty thorough job of trying to help out the contractors in determining what is. And sometimes the only way to determine what's on the breaker is to shut it off. So I don't think that was Tom that did that, but that's what happens. Or sometimes things get cut. I don't think we found anything under the slab that was unexpected from a wiring standpoint. That was the other concern. As soon as you set the saw cutting machine in and start cutting that slab up, that you can find buried conduits, and we're fortunate that it doesn't sound like that happened here. So it's always a safety concern and so forth. So
Great.
okay. Questions?
Other questions? Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's it. Great. We'll see you next month.
Sure, why not? Or just for, the other thing is that we do have regularly scheduled construction meetings, so I am up here, or if I'm not, I will have one of my staff up here if I have other conflicts, but right now it's been me on Tuesdays at 11 o'clock. From a board standpoint, if one of you wanted to join us, I think that would be perfectly okay. I don't want it to turn into a public meeting, just because it's a safety concern and so forth. And so, I mean, if you guys, wanted to take the opportunity to come and just experience that, I would welcome you to do that, and I'd be happy to answer any questions and walk through with you. Or if, maybe next month I'll come up and we can do a tour before, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I unfortunately wasn't able to get here earlier today. I wish I would have, but I had another meeting that I already left early for, so. Okay, perfect.
Great,
Yep, thanks for coming. Okay, 9.4 administrative communication update.
Yes, thank you. We've been doing these, each meeting we have, so you can be aware of our progress on this area. Our communication team has continued to meet every Friday morning, and that is kind of our time to assess what we've done, what we need to do, make sure we're not dropping things, and kind of plan forward. And that's been very helpful to make sure things aren't dropped and we're still communicating where we need to be. We do have, the progress is still in place with the duties assigned for next year, the communication duties among the different school, high school, middle school, elementary levels. We haven't had any negative feedback on that, so I think that'll work very well with our staff helping to push stories to us. One of the neat things that just happened internally amongst the staff, Ms. Ober did a fantastic job developing a middle school flyer to kind of highlight what our school does, and we're going to take that format and do that for the elementary and the high school as well. It's kind of a neat program she used. It was fantastic. And then we haven't brought it to the board this meeting, but meetings to come to bring our typical yearly handbook updates where you guys can look at them and approve them. And the communication team has put together an updated signature page at the back of the handbook that kind of communicates with parents. They give explicit permission for photography, for communications home, email address updates, and so that way when we start the year next year, we can for sure have that solidified, concrete email distribution list for every grade, every parent in the school. And that'll be, of assistance as well. I wrote something else down I wanted to tell you, but I can't read my own writing, so that's all I can share with you. We do type all of our communications and give it to the public. So, thank you.
Thank you.
That's the human side of it.
Okay, 9.5 budget update.
Well, you did see the budget report, so really what's going on budget-wise, as Lori mentioned, there are a lot of things still yet to come in, some encumbered items and such to get a true picture of where we're at currently for this year. But as our discussion today, discussing the budget, we feel we're on target for hitting the 15%. We're pretty confident on that. And then the other piece is we will have a budget for you for FY19. Ready, and we'll send out some information as early as we can for your review. If we can get it out prior to the fact, we'll get it out prior to the fact.
Okay. Good. Any questions? Are we looking at any increase in FTEs overall? Do you know, at the top of your head, not to put you this.
Yes. It was possible. Well, the board approved last year for our 5th grade, and last year we only put in a small amount of FTE, and so we're going to see an increase, but that won't point out. When we increase a section there, then in elementary, when you increase, you're actually increasing more because you need to now have hard using time, those things. So there's some increases in those areas as well.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there might be some other things, but we'll have full explanation there.
At our next
We're
meeting.
going to provide you with that.
Great.
With the FTE chart.
So are you guys considering or have a plan for the potential funding from the governor that's going around?
We don't have any plan right now. It would be obviously a windfall for us if that does come through. I don't recall, I don't know if Lori, did you ever look at what our district was gonna receive, I did look.
It's like 126 per student, I think, or something
Oh,
like that.
if based on legislation.
One of the others is the safe school amount.
Right.
And what they did for a nice nod, as they referred to it as, for rural school districts was 30,000. So we can see 30,000 potentially for school safety. Some of those things that we could look at are some of our doors, entrances. One of the big things is we'll look at that connection with the school district or the school and the why, and see how we can, if there's a way, we'll probably be enlisting ARI, but to look at, how can we make that so it's more of a secure area, because that's one of our goals. So.
Okay, any other exciting June meeting?
That's,
budget
you know,
stuff?
if it's 126, it's $44,000, that we would, which is great.
Great, yes. Okay, 9.6, approve naming high school gym to Pam Taylor Gymnasium.
You do have in your board packet a letter from CCEA President, Mr. McHugh. And he's present as a spokesperson. I don't know if everybody had a chance to use that. So it's important.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion?
Who's doing the lettering? We're gonna have
We would
it,
do that if it-
if it's approved, we're gonna have the signage, right?
Correct.
So, we're gonna have that done by,
Mindy has a thought.
I would recommend that we would have a nice temporary sign for graduation. And then I would present maybe a proposal to you at the next board meeting for a permanent display. That would be my recommendation, and you don't have to take that, but I think if you want something nice done by graduation, I think it should be.
So I agree with Mr. Gore that it would be great to do it for graduation.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
make the announcement at that time.
Too bad this is public, I shall know.
It's fine, it's still-
If the board approves it, then we can, at graduation, we can say, welcome to the Pam Taylor Gymnasium. Suggestion to the board is that we have an open house for all the renovations and including that Pam Taylor Gymnasium. So hopefully we can, so now we're looking at the end of August, so we can have the signage done, so we have the leeway to make sure that the signage is done.
Including the entry signage. Coming this way.
So then we open it up to the community so they can see what the bond.
Tax dollars.
Yeah. Might have to have our culinary arts teacher come in with some students and maybe make some refreshments. If he has any time at all, which it'll be tight.
So I was just looking at our policy on this, and so I just wanted to make sure we were, following that. So is the superintendent making this recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
You may not be aware, Dan, and this is a wonderful thing to say publicly, even though Pam's service, and if you've seen Pam in action, it speaks for itself. But this was a big discussion in the fall, and we received, I know I did, and I am under the impression that that we as board members received many, many emails of public support for this, and it's really, my impression is that it's something that our constituents really, really want. She's very highly thought of by her.
Sure.
By everyone in the building, and I think everyone in the community.
In the community.
I've never
And we
heard a
had-
bad thing about her.
And we had no policy, we had no, we didn't have any process in place. And so in an effort to not try to do knee-jerk reactions, but to try to be consistent going forward, we needed to do the policy, we needed to get this
Policy first, and then.
policy and then do the,
And then be able to.
yeah.
Sure. No, I get that. I was just making sure that we were doing that, because
Yep.
we just did that, so just,
Good point.
Yes.
And that's when the question came up, that we don't have a policy for this, how do we do this? And so just trying to be, follow that our normal process, creating policy.
sounds good.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 9.7 Sawtooth Bluffs discussion. So, I'll just start up.
We have a motion.
Do you want a motion?
Approve and-
All right. So we can
I'll make a
discuss.
motion to approve.
Okay.
Second?
Okay. All right, so we've been discussing this for several meetings, and the last time they were here, that group, and we've gotten a copy of that master plan, and I did attend the, after that meeting, they invited me to one of a meeting, which I attended that meeting, and they were just kind of going over numbers and things. And so it just is clear to me that when I went to that meeting, that they definitely want us to be a partner in it, because part of applying for these legacy funds is that you've got a school involved in that, it sounds like. That's the impression that I got. And so they definitely still, they want us to be a partner. They also, reiterated the fact, what they said that evening. This doesn't bind us to anything. They want to have access, to the Y, and the Y, is on our property. So they want access to that. And so it just kind of reiterated one of the things that they were here and spoke about. So, discussion, people's thoughts. Deb has something to say.
That is something to say. Is that true for legacy funding, that you should have a school attached?
That I'm not sure, but I know that for most,
I would like to know that
Sorry.
from another besides this.
Well, I can't, I'm
I know
not
you
able
don't,
to
you
give
wouldn't
you
know.
confirmation 100%. Ben.
So anyway,
Um,
typically when you're writing grants, if you have more entities
yes,
involved.
I understand that. So, my understanding is that they would like us to give them access, which would be, we would encumber a portion of our property so they could have a trail, so they could have access into the undefined future for non-specific, general thing. School owns property. We don't use it all at the moment. What is the mission of the school district? It's for our students, it's for our kids, it's for their education, their protection, the whole, everything. By providing access to school property, or with the school property, which by their own statements, this is to bring more tourism to the county. More tourism to the county. Do tourists truly enhance the education of our students inside this building? With having tourists using our facilities and using our property and encumbering does that make for a better education for our students? And if we think that is, their argument was, well, we could just sign on and we're not committed to doing anything ever. Well, does that ever change the fact that tourism, or this project per se, that it will in the future do something educationally for our kids? Will it down the road do something for our kids? Will it down the road, or do we believe that the education of our students is best decided by the people that educate our kids, not by the governmental powers that be, whose focus is on the economic development of this community? And so that's I want to protect what's for our kids. And yes, tourism brings money. Lots of people I've had 6 jobs at one time in this county, you know, because there's often jobs that don't pay living wages, but we have a lot of tourism here, so I just believe that we have a responsibility to think first about our students and then our educators as to what might be possible for our education of our kids down the road and what's not necessary for the growth of the county. I mean, our responsibility is the kids. So, I'll stop talking now.
And there's theoretically no reason if we don't want to support it now, as we see what develops, that we could get on the bandwagon later, right? We could be.
But does that mean that then we change our mind, that we think that, oh, maybe we do need this for education?
The one thing that I thought was interesting is if it becomes this really highly used thing by our students, and there was some discussion of different ways to make it safer to walk from here to there. No, it's not a big road between here and there, so I don't know that that's
It's the gun punch.
ever a big, I mean, it's not
busy
big
road.
road. I mean, it's busy,
road.
but,
I mean,
yeah, it's not like
It's not Highway 61,
35W or
but-
something.
right.
You know, they were talking about a tunnel under the road or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I found that maybe intriguing if it's necessary later, but I feel like that I'm hard pressed to think that that's even related to. But there's no reason we couldn't get on board later if it proves necessary.
You know, well, what we were informed was, yes, we could, later would be okay too. And as far as you say, oh, maybe we could change our minds. Well, when you have something that you're unsure of right now, if we had all the answers, if we knew what this whole thing was gonna be, and we decided against it, I could see that's changing my, we don't know what that whole thing is gonna be yet, what the whole process is. That was just a proposal that they're coming up with to have this and this and this and this. So we're unsure what it's gonna be. If we wanna change our minds 5 years down the road and they welcome us at that time, there wouldn't be a problem with that, in my mind anyways.
Yeah, I guess the way that I look, I mean, I agree with with your sentiment, Deb, but I guess I just have a different understanding as to where the project is at right now. That there isn't a specific proposal for our land, and it's our prerogative to, you know, participate or develop a use for our land in the future. It's just more about us saying, right now, yeah, we would potentially be collaborating in this project in the future. You can put us on your grant application as a result. But that doesn't, I mean, that doesn't obligate us to a there wasn't a proposal for any use. So
If indeed they can get additional grants because a school is involved, and we really don't know that we have any intention of being involved, isn't that kind of sneaky?
well, I mean, that's not really, I don't think
I don't know
So,
that that's
I don't-
anybody's intention.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I'm
are we
just like-
being disingenuous, or are we sincerely not sure if we would want to be involved? I mean, the way I see it is, I would hate to slam the door on an opportunity that would enrich the students down the road with an idea that we don't have yet, you know? And that, so, for me, I think it would be important to keep the opportunity alive and be a part of the process as it plays out, you know, and have a seat at the table, like Sissy was saying last time. Without, you know, because for me, I just don't see us as making a commitment to anything. You know, they're not, like, bulldozers aren't gonna come in, it's not necessarily gonna be a trail, it could be any number of things, and it could be capital that we could potentially access to help it be whatever we want it to be, you know what I mean? I mean, that's what they said.
Correct.
So,
That's what they said.
and so, I would, obviously, we would want to make sure that, you know, we're not, by saying you can put us on the application, we should read the document for sure, but I don't think it is, we're not authorizing an encumbrance on our land. We're not authorizing a project to proceed.
You did ask the question, you know, do they need a school? No, because they already said they don't need it.
Sure.
it would still move forward.
Right. Right. It would just preempt us from being a part of it in the future, potentially.
So we wouldn't be part of the campground, we wouldn't be part of the dog trails, we wouldn't be part of the horse trails, we wouldn't be part of the, I don't know what, the bird watching thing. We wouldn't be part of the frisbee golf. We would miss out on all of that, and instead we would just have to have science labs in our woods and plod through our own trails and.
See, that's just, we don't know. The whole thing is, we don't know. I think one of the things that, if we put our name on something, and then the public sees that our name is out there on something, a proposal or an application, I think our community would say, what? What is the school getting involved with now? Why weren't we informed? There's been no huge public meeting saying that, I've had a lot of people say, well, you really want all this traffic going through the school? With everything that's out there now in the public. So that, I guess that would be my thing, why put our name on something if we're not 100% sure of it yet?
I believe this is a political situation because it's not unanimous in this county. At least it wasn't when they did a visioning. I don't know when this was, I've been around, but it was at one point, that bluff would never be developed. And now they say, well, you'll never see what we're doing up there, but we'll have, if we're lucky, we'll have this huge international fat tire mountain bike race up there, but we won't be visible. That just doesn't, you can't have it both ways. And I believe that, what about the people in our community that use that? I mean, this is the political part of that whole bluff now. I mean, what about the people that go up there now and they go hunting? What about the ones that just go up there and sit? What about the people that live on that road? I mean, how many hundreds of cars, increase in traffic. Are those people even aware that this is going on? And so I believe that this whole bluff thing is just, people aren't paying attention yet. I just don't believe they're paying attention. And I agree with Chris is, I don't believe that this is one, I don't want to call it a fight, but I don't believe this is an issue that the school needs to undertake. I mean, we have our naysayers and we have people that we're always being scrutinized by the public. And even though we do a really great job as the district, as educating our kids, and now to put our name on something that is, in spite of all the entities that are really behind this, there's a whole majority of, or not majority, there's a whole group of people that really aren't too excited about it. You know?
I was sort of interested too on the wording we have here of to approve supporting the Sawtooth Bluffs master plan. For me personally, I don't know that I really approve or disapprove of any other part of the master plan besides the school involvement. So it's very, what we're officially discussing is vague. If I say yes, or if I say no, what does that mean?
I guess maybe we should amend the motion to say to approve the inclusion of the district in the allowing the district to be included in the Sawtooth Bluffs master plan.
I like that much better.
So application.
That would be Member Gettle.
Member Gettle, would you like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Amend, to amend the motion.
The motion to say, to approve supporting the inclusion of the district's name in the application of the Sawtooth Bluffs master plan application. Did I say application already?
Somewhere, yeah, period.
Okay.
Does that say first, next, second?
And then, Mr. Shirley, are you okay with that amendment to that? Okay.
Thanks, I like that better.
Okay.
Not to be too.
Okay, well, I, you know, agree with many of the concerns that people have raised. You know, whenever you know, allow to have your name put on something, you know, there's a certain amount of expectation that people have when you do that. But I do think that this could be a way that we could use this to our benefit. And that being, you know, we don't have, that I'm aware of, we don't have like a master plan for, I mean, we have, you know, building plans for a facility and things, but do we have a grounds plan for our grounds, like our grounds?
Oh, long-term
Yeah.
facilities plan.
Do we have a long-term facilities plan? Because,
Facilities or a property?
Well,
well,
that would be
grounds,
considered.
when I say grounds, I mean, we have a ball field, we have a football field, we have, you know, we have grounds.
No, we currently don't.
Okay, so we don't. So we should probably get that because,
But I don't think you should piggyback or say that that's part of this.
no, we don't, but my point of bringing that up, my point of bringing it up is I think there potentially are things that we need to address on our property at some point. And, you know, just in the same way I say that the city and the county are leveraging our support to bolster their application. We may we may be able to also, in turn, at some point, also benefit that as well. Here's my example. We don't have a softball field on site for our girls' team, for our girls' softball. We've got a baseball field, we've got a football field. Okay, they play in the rec park. So, at some point, it is in the master plan of the city to get rid of that. And I did have a conversation with Dave Turstig and said, what's your plan? Do you have a time frame? Because we would need to address that. And he said, well, you know, their time frame, you know, was on and it was supposed to happen relatively soon, but in their master plan, or it's worded something to the effect of when a suitable replacement is built. So which is, thank goodness that says that. We're benefiting a lot from that because, I mean, it is within their rights, I mean, it's their property. So that's where I'm kind of like, okay, I don't necessarily want to shut the door on this and say, no, we don't want to be a part of this, because I just wonder, if in these conversations, as this unfolds, maybe there's an opportunity. You know, there was a ton of work done because it was gonna, when the Y plans were happening, and it never happened because of cost, but there was research done, and I mean, we wouldn't have to reinvent the wheel. I think if, you know, we could pull those numbers and get those, but I just wonder, and this is, you know, completely, I'm pulling this out of the air, but could it benefit us long-term at some point?
I think it could, and I think we're kind of going around and around in a circle here.
Yeah.
The question is do we want to put our name on it?
Yeah.
Right now for the application? Not about, we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
They've come up with this master plan, but the master plan can change. They can make it whatever they want to make it mini mall. Who knows? I'm just saying.
Yes.
So that's, the question is, do we want to put our name on it right now to see if they can come up and get approved? That's the question. We don't know what all that other stuff is.
We don't know, and it's a big unknown, and I think this is really hard, I think it's a lot to ask us, because I do think it's really a lot of unknowns. But in my way of thinking of if I'm gonna say yes or no on this, is I'm thinking, how can we benefit our kids? So that's why I'm hesitating on saying, no, shut the door.
However,
It's not shut the door though. They said. They said.
They did.
They said. And who knows what that means? But are they gonna shut the door on everybody that said no?
so
Not
here
if there's a
though,
benefit to them either.
so we might gain a softball field? Who built that? I'll tell you who built the baseball field. It was parent volunteers and staff here that built that playground. It was Dean Berniking and with his machine that cleared the woods back. And so we've got a community that will help build things if we need be. We have heavy equipment and strong backs, and we'll do it for, I mean, our community does it for the kids. So we don't need to tie ourselves to bureaucracies or to other people's plans to take care of our kids. We always need their support and we need help. But I've seen what this community does for their kids, for athletics, for athletics, and I believe that, I mean, but you're right about what are we gonna find when you start to dig? I mean, what if we find more tunnels? It intrigues me. But anyway, I mean, what if we find wetland mitigation? Well, then we're gonna be buying wetlands for, you know, there's credits. And so, I think your dad had a little bit of wetlands around it for that.
Yeah, it's a secret plan to make millions or something.
It is. He's only got thousands of acres of land
Again, I
to
think
trade
we're
up.
still going round in
Right, we are
circles,
going
so-
around. Bring us back.
You know, we're back, we have a motion on the table, and it's like, let's,
Okay.
I mean,
Well, we're not
unless
gonna be
somebody's
able
got
to-
something else to really.
We can't sign on in the future if it doesn't go forward,
Yeah.
you know? And that's
But
kind
if it
of,
go, what if it goes forward and nobody likes it?
And your softball field suggestion, we probably don't want anybody but students using that softball field, so if the city puts a softball, field, are they expecting that anybody, the men's and women's adults leagues can use this softball field?
I'm saying we should adjust it as a
I just feel
district.
like there's too much unknown.
Yeah.
You know, what
Yeah.
does that mean, and
well, does nobody use the baseball field right now?
just the students.
Community ed uses it for their summer,
A little bit, but it's mainly the baseball field.
Yeah.
Might use the outfield a little bit.
Well, the thing is, most of this stuff is like summer anyway, so it's not, the conflicts are less, I would think. Most of the proposed development up there is for summer recreation, so.
At this point.
True.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily speaking for or against the rest of the master plan. I just really hesitate to tie the school on without knowing more. And I know we have tons of questions answered, and there's not really much more to know at this time, but we're stewards of this property at this time, and when we give the impression that we're willing to give rights of our property away, even if that's not what we're really doing, that's an impression we're giving. It just, to me, it feels unwise. Not to speak against the Sawtooth Bluffs. But
We have a responsibility to.
we have a responsibility to our students, to our community,
So
and I
what,
don't know that this
so
is the
what does
best
this
way to do it.
conversation look like when the whole YMCA thing was being proposed? Because, I mean, you know, it's kind of seeing some parallels here.
Real parallel.
And perhaps that's informing some feelings now after the way that's worked out, which I guess.
Yeah, I wasn't on the board,
I was.
so I can't speak to that.
We paid $5.21 per square foot for that gymnasium. So, yeah.
Okay. Any other comments? From board
You know,
members?
I guess one thing I'd like to say is, last meeting, our administrators kind of spoke, and they
Unanimously.
unanimously said,
Okay. Do you want to ask for a recommendation from our superintendent?
Just information, at the last board meeting, also asked us to survey our teachers. We had 21 respondents. Most were aware that we have a school force. About half rarely use it, 9% use it frequently. Highest types of use are free play, outdoor education, physical environment led, and service-based learning. Two highest reasons for not using the forest are scheduling constraints and lack of training. That's why they don't use the forest. More professional development related on forest, outdoor educational. They would like more information on how to access is easy to use, but how to actually use it. Top 3 previous recommendations for improving would be have an outdoor classroom area, create school forest site trail maps, improve the existing trails that we already have. Level of interest in collaboration with the city, county YMCA on trails. 8 were not interested at all. not at all interested, slightly interested, or very concerned with safety. That's what 8 of them. And then the other 8 were very interested, extremely interested. So they were split right down the middle.
Split down the middle.
Other feedback was wanting accessibility improved, questions on maintenance, safety concerns, ideas with an outdoor classroom construction. Speaking of which, coming up on June 4th, there is an outdoor education training that we're collaborating with GES on.
Okay, good.
Some training is coming, and we're also pursuing grant funding for next year's timber frame project. Kids can possibly be able to be placed in outside classrooms somewhere on their grounds.
Perfect.
So there are some things happening. So that was, Dr. Druid followed up with that. Just to get that information.
Thank you, Dr. Drew.
Thanks to Rachel Lichty and the Forest team. They put that survey together, so.
Great.
I guess to put a point on it, my point is, I just see this as like the potential access to some capital to do something that we want to do. And that's why I think that it could be a good idea, because I see it as like, okay, here's something that we can maybe, accessing capital from the community, that's great. I mean, that has its limits. This is just another avenue for getting some capital to do a project that we potentially might want to do in the future. I just thought it might be a good idea to like keep that on the table as just a means for accessing capital to do a project we want to do. That's the perspective that I'm coming from on it.
But no matter what we vote, we're keeping that on the table, right? Because they said we can open that door anytime.
And that's like,
I don't know, yeah, I guess that's what they said. I have a feeling, I just have a feeling, I don't know, maybe not. We'll see. I think we would be taking that chance, but that's completely 100% me feeling that way, so.
but personally.
You might have got another take from the group when they were here, but.
But personally, sometimes you have an opportunity in business to make a lot of money by taking a job. But there are so many things that are unknown. And you get little warning signs because of the personalities of the people and their past histories or just too many unknowns. That it's in your best interest to walk away. Just walk away. Because it's just in your best interest to walk away. So there are always more doors to open.
Sure.
All right, any other thoughts?
Drum roll.
Can we just, for clarification, did you write down what the final motion was?
What I
Ms.
would
Ben?
We're voting.
No, I know.
The change there?
She'll find it. Yeah, but
This is what I have, you want, have what I
To
have?
approve supporting the inclusion of the district in the Sawtooth Bluffs Master Plan.
Application, yep. Okay, that is the motion. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, aye. I'm thinking about what I'm doing. I'm saying aye also, so it's 2 ayes. All right? Shirley and Lundy. Okay, those opposed, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay, that's Gettle, White, and Jansen. So the motion fails. So what I would like, I guess, I'm gonna communicate this to them. Would you like me to communicate that to come, we potentially would wanna come back to the table at some point, or do you just want me to say we're not interested? I mean, does anybody have any strong feelings on that, or?
I don't see down the road that it's going to be an educational, I'm just, but I'm the,
We can always, I feel they could always come back and say, hey,
they can ask
we
me
got
again.
this, and
When they,
are you interested now? Because there might be huge potential, it might be educational Don't know.
Might be. Or we might get our new shop kids going with our new shop teacher, and they might build us a timber frame, and there might be timber framers in the community that would volunteer, and people that would donate timbers. We don't have to drive to Pennsylvania to go get them, and, you know, we could do our own. I mean, this is,
Well, I think.
it's an educational process to have our staff create a learning environment for our students and for them to use. And so we better get some training to our staff so they know what they want.
Okay, so I'm gonna say, as things unfold, please still include us in your plans, because at some point, maybe potentially we'd like to rejoin. I wanna make clear, because I'm gonna be the spokesperson, I wanna make sure that I clearly communicate with that group, okay?
I'm comfortable.
You can tell them to watch the video.
So that's what, I will do that. Okay, 9.8, to approve the physical education curriculum budget. And we have handouts for that here. Revised, so this is, so look at these, please.
For the board members, I'll just give an overview, and the following 3 agenda items are for FIED, and then I think it might be music, and then culinary arts, or vice versa. What we do in our school district, we implemented starting last year what's called a curriculum cycle. And what that does is it provides the district and the school a process to make sure that we are using best practices and procedures in our teaching and the best materials possible to educate our students in all the different curricular areas. And so it's broken down into different departments. So there's a social studies department and a math department, and the departments that are up for review tonight. What they do is over the course of 7 years, they continually analyze, adjust, modify, make their curriculum better through those years, and they map that out. And then in our particular cycle, when they reach year 2, so that's this group's year 2, that's the year where they'll come to the board and present the proposal for any adjustments or changes and an influx of funding to that particular curriculum area to improve over the next 7 years. And sometimes what that involves is purchasing new equipment, and sometimes it involves changing budgets to up that for the additional 7 years in certain areas to purchase online subscriptions or things like that. So for FIED, in front of you, you can see the elementary school has asked to increase their replacement maintenance budget for the equipment they have on hand right now. They've asked to add the listed replacements for equipment, and then on the very bottom of that, we want to include in this budget line item just the fact that we did add an additional $2,700 of equipment that started this year. This year, the Minnesota State came up with a 43-page document with new FIED standards, and so we developed a new curriculum based around that this year for our kids, and so we had to purchase new equipment at the beginning of the year for that. So it's a $7,000 increase there. Middle school, high school has a list of equipment you can see. And they asked for a $35 increase for their particular budget line item for replacing that and keeping it up to date and working. And so their total increase is a little over $9,000. And just a note, we developed a good plan, Mr. Dorr, myself, as the activities director, in terms of the storage of the equipment to make sure it does last the entire 7 years. So I know sometimes that has been a concern in the past on who gets access to it and what it's used for. Many times community members or coaches or folks in the building might see that as, oh, I'll just grab that and go play with it and stuff like that, and it actually wears down the equipment, so that'll be taken care of. And then in the health area, you can see just a couple items to add to the 7th grade health curriculum. So the total adoption estimate of the addition for this is a little over $16,000. And then a note on the bottom, just so the group is aware that the new safety and technology course was added as part of this when we did the block schedule. So, and I'd recommend adopting the curriculum.
What are pads for boxes at 869?
I actually can't answer that question, Ms. Wester can. I think it might be the pads on top of the volleyball boxes they stand. I don't know. I could be wrong though. Or it could be part of our new unified fitness wellness class where they do steps. But
yeah. Actually, I think that's what it's for.
Yeah.
Unified class.
Is this within the budget that was given to them? Is this, do
Yes.
we have this amount budgeted?
By
Okay.
$12.
By $12?
All three of these, no,
Okay.
under budget.
Fiscal responsibility, good job, Ed and health.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Other questions? Nothing? Thanks.
Do they get $12 worth of something?
What ends up happening is after we approve this, we ask them for the requisitions for the following year, then oftentimes what happens is when they go out and get those things ordered and online on the cart, maybe it goes up by $5 or they save $25 and they find a new deal, you know. So it's-
Thanks for everyone that worked on this. Great that it's within budget. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Okay, 9.9, to approve the culinary arts curriculum budget.
Okay, so this one is a lot shorter in terms of the length of it. A lot of the items the curriculum arts area needed we're including in the bond and the reconstruction of those equipments. So all we're asking for on this one is, because we're expanding the course offerings, we'll have a middle school culinary arts class next year along with a third high school culinary arts class, is to add additional budget items for the actual food orders to cover for that. So that total amount is $28,000. Mr. Guest did attend the meeting tonight, so if you had any questions about the culinary art program or what we need, you can address them to him. In the past, the district supported the original 2 classes of culinary arts with a $2,000 budget for each class for food, and then $500 for soap and keeping your area clean and things. So I'd recommend approving this too.
Is it middle school, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, all which?
8th grade.
8th grade.
Is there, with the new facility, and maybe you do this now, is there a revenue generating means that, you know, like my high school, for instance, the culinary arts, like the baking class, like they made cookies and then they sold them at break, like to students, you know, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
You know, as a means to make a little money, support the program. I don't know if that's a possibility.
Yeah, for fundraising it is. For sale to the public, we would need the commercial status, which will effectively happen when the kitchen opens at whatever time that is in the fall, hopefully first day of school. Yeah, we've got a number of things we could do. It's always kind of a tricky thing in a small community like this because we're essentially competing with businesses that I've actually been offered some of those businesses, so I know how little they actually make for profit. So I'd like to find ways that we're not directly competing with them as far as baked goods and stuff, but I know one option that was presented to me a couple years ago by a neighbor of mine that has Gunflint Mercantile is that possibly we could do something where she buys fruits and stuff like that, and we learn how to can, make jellies and jams, can that, label it, market it, things like that, and that was something that kind of got pushed down the road because I said, yeah, we can't do that right now at the kitchen we have, but in the future we'll have a commercial kitchen. That could be something we could pick up again. That wouldn't really directly compete with anybody in the community, but yeah, there are certain functions that we could get involved with our new kitchen to recoup money.
Sure.
Just a random thought. Mr. Gesh always is at eats with his students as well, and that's something that generates funding for the Education Foundation that comes back into the school. So that just, I was thinking about that and just applauding your efforts. That goes to the entirety of the school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you have a comment?
Well, I was just gonna make a comment on the commercial status of that and where that's at in the process. See, like, because it came up, and I just want to make sure that you understand what's happening in that regard. So, we are in process of putting together the application to Department of Health on behalf of Cook County Schools to submit that. That should go out in the next few days with the plans that we've prepared and so forth. And we've gotten kind of a general idea of menu and so forth from the district. And so we're going to submit that to Department of Health, and hopefully we'll hear back in the not too distant future on any concerns they may have, I don't foresee any, but just so you know, we'll keep you updated on that
Okay,
as I come back in the future.
thank you. Is this what our budget was? Again, I'm asking the same question, this is
Yep.
310. So it's within what we said, wanted.
So when I said that the $12, I guess I was referring to all three of these particular proposals came in $12 underneath our total budget. So these departments had to kind of share a total
Yep,
budget amount so we can continue that cycle.
okay, okay.
We could use some of our school land to build like an orchard that you could then can the fruits and sell.
Start a forestry
And we could
program.
also have wild game hunting because we could have stands to shoot the deer that are going to
We're not
bomb
gonna
the
have
apple trees.
Feel like the
guns on
thing.
school property.
Oh, yeah, we can't do that, never mind.
Just
Too
saying,
much.
we're not gonna have that.
Never
All
mind.
right, anything specific to the culinary arts? Very excited for this to get done. So we need a motion. I need a motion to approve that.
Make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 9.10, to approve music curriculum budget.
So the item list before you, I reviewed with Mr. Haas. He unfortunately could not be here tonight. And he told me how to pronounce some of these words. For the elementary school, the first item there is a $50 increase per year for purchasing more music and stuff for the kids for the budget. There's a $200 increase per year for maintaining some of the instruments and the supplies. One-time purchase to fund a little bit slightly different curriculum in the elementary school is for conversational solfege, is how you pronounce that. And I think, if I'm correct, it's part of the Kodalai method. I could be completely wrong, but it's how you shape your hand when you learn the different notes and you sing do, re, mi, and that kind of thing. But it's a fantastic, and they're all in agreement, it's a great curriculum. There's 3 levels of that to purchase for elementary school, particular books for our guitars and recorder units. We do those for our 3rd and 4th graders. And you can see the cost there. We started the 5th grade band this past year, and so you can see a variety of music items we'd like to purchase for them. And at the very bottom of the list, you'll notice Essential Elements Level 1 methods. And so that's part of a 3-level series of a band music curriculum that we can use at the elementary, and then you'll see in the middle school and high school level 2 and level 3. And then also the one-time purchases to complete our recorder set. Some of the guitars are getting out of date and kind of broken, so we'll get some more guitars and a little 8 more recorders in the bottom. So for the elementary school, it's a little over $7,000. In the middle school, the first line item there is a budget for choir of $700, so they can purchase music for a middle school choir for next year. And then for the band, there's another repair maintenance budget increase to keep their instruments up to date. There's no increase asked for their instruction supplies. They feel that's enough. And then you can see the level 2 on the bottom line there for the band, that same type of curriculum for him to instruct the band. And then some jazz and chorals music. So it's about just under $14,000 for the middle school over the course of the 7 years. And then in the high school, a budget for the high school choir for next year. The same thing, an increase to the repair maintenance budget for the instruments. No increase for the instructional supplies, that's still fine. And then you can see the level 3 item on the bottom, that same curriculum we were talking about. So midway between $9,000 and $10,000 for a total adoption of $30,584. The board may be interested, the question Ms. Lundy asked earlier in the meeting about increases to FTE, we're doing a slight, I think it's 0.04 increase to our choir program, so we can offer a separate middle school choir experience along with high school choir experience next year. And so you'll see, that's why the 2 different line items there. So, I recommend adopting this as well, and Mr. Haas did a good job working with district attorneys. So
Is it within budget?
it's within budget.
Make a motion to approve the music curriculum budget?
I second it.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, 9.11, to approve the resolution relating to proposed property tax abatement for parking lot improvement project at the K-12 school building. Yeah, today's one.
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed property tax abatement for parking lot improvement project.
Second it.
Okay, discussion.
All right, so in your packet, you can see the language that was provided to us. In there, you also see that part of that would be to have a public hearing at our next board meeting. And with that, a statement of what would be happening at that meeting. But when you get down to it, some of the information, if you, on the second page, in statute, boards are, I think, the board, and I don't know who was on the board at the time, but we had done this in bond in the past for abatement for a parking lot.
For
So,
this, we did abatement for the new entry there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that's something that the board has the ability to do. In this case, we are looking at, in the proposal, it would comprise of seal coating, crack filling, fencing, light repair for the parking lots adjacent to the K-12 building, including adjoining driveways and walkways benefiting the property improvement. And so we have some light fixtures that need to get repaired, replaced, updated. Funds are to seal both the front and back parking lots, repair the sawtooth parking lots, lights, repair adjoining sidewalks, add fencing to the playground to alleviate safety issues for our students. So it's the sawtooth parking lot, right adjacent. We've got police vehicles who run. They just run. They just run. And we don't have something blocking them from just running into our parking lot. And we've got, at any time, obviously people, in some cases, are garbage haulers or whatever that is. So that's a big safety piece there. If we move forward, if the board moves forward with this, the funds would be available as soon as the bonds are sold. We would, Steve Pumper would let us know when that date would be coming up with sometime this summer. It would end up being part of our tax levy for the next 3 years. The first year is interest only, and then the principal and interest for the next 2 years. That was the payment portion. Process is that the notice goes in the paper regarding public hearing to be held at our next board meeting, as is written in here. Resolution on the board agenda, and if approved in June, bonds are sold out, get our full funds in July, as mentioned. The cost to taxpayers would be $1.40 for $100,000 on year 2. So it's just 2 years the tax, so that would be 2019, 2020 is where the tax would be seen on your tax statement. Estimated first year of interest is only a total of $2,200, and that's this type of, because it's bond, similar to the $6 million, it's spread across every property, not just a residential property. And so it's the net tax capacity back. And so that's the big talking points for our bond, where we're at. Between Ms. Backel and I, we came up with those. Actually, I shouldn't say Ms. Backel really did the work. I got to read. But we did see this as an opportunity. Based off of our discussion at the last board meeting when we were looking at contingency funds for, looking at our board chair and talking about experience at the, except for Board Member Shirley, of our last project that went forward. We wanted to make sure that we had the contingency set up. And so, referring to the shop facility. And so we want to make sure we have a contingency. And this would alleviate some funds, well, $65,000, that wouldn't be bond project, it would be a different bond that we could take out of the existing. At the same point, there would be a slight tick up with this $1.40 for 100,000 businesses, but obviously this is just for residential rather than businesses see a little departure too. And so we would be then able to, once we get the funds, be able to start those projects. It may not be this year, maybe next summer project. Provides us with funding for that specific area.
So we're improving the public's parking lots.
Yes, at the same time,
It's
during,
public property,
yeah, during
yes.
this process, the bond that we did, the abatement bonds that we did for the improvements
The new entry.
on the new entry, those are going to be going off during that time. But that was actually worked into our original $6 million bond. So this $1.40 per 100,000, there will be a slight increase to some of these taxes. So if you have a $200,000 home, $2.80.
So do we have like a specific plan for what these would be, like, for instance, like fencing, you know, or is it like?
That's a specific fencing along, it's adjacent right up, abutting to our Sawtooth parking lot.
So
The sidewalk would be walkable, but the fencing would be right there for safety.
Okay, so I mean, the objective is to have a barrier.
Correct.
And that could be any number of things, but right now the plan is to put a fence, like a
Correct.
chain link fence.
Yes, actually, we have pretty specific numbers, where we got bids for all of these items to come up with this amount.
Sure. The other question I had about, was about the lighting. And that's just something that's been on my mind in general, and it seems like a good time to bring it up. Like the warmth of the lights and how they direct, you know, we have a lot of lights and it can contribute to light pollution. Not as bad as the gas stations, but, you know, just in terms of being a good neighbor, I think that's something worth considering, you know.
If I can, Mr. Nelson, we have those on timers, correct?
We can have them on timers, yes. Right now they are on, they come on at night, go off in the morning, is how they're set now.
So we could adjust those.
There is timers.
We could say, you know, every night at 10 o'clock, well, if we know when our building's in use. The nice thing is
How
that we
late do
put
our sports teams come home?
Midnight, 1 o'clock, depending on where they go.
But those are some of the things that we would know, that we know that the bus is coming back at 2 in the morning, we'd probably keep them on till 3.
Yeah.
Sure. You know, just play the odds there, but sure. On the average, we would always have them off at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock, whatever we deemed appropriate.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that would be a great idea. Also looking at like bulb warmth, I think is, you know, worthwhile. Because I know these bulbs are probably expensive, but as we're replacing them, you know, it'd be nice to get, there's like a threshold that like affects the light. It's like 2700 Kelvin or something. You want to be like below that to get the least amount of blue light in the spectrum, which is what really causes the light pollution and it actually affects people's health by being exposed to that all the time. So, you know, you can still illuminate the areas you want to illuminate, but it doesn't need to be like the gas station, which is like that blue light, you know, it's like white light. It's like, whoa, it can be like a softer light, which has less effects. And so, I don't know, I'm certainly an advocate of that personally, you know,
Can you recall what our bid was for LEDs?
It's LED, yes.
Yeah.
We could look more specifically in detail.
I can get.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be interesting to know, because I mean, LED technology's come along quite a bit that you can get. There's more options for it used to be, it was like full tilt, but now they can come in different.
You can dim them now.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
And there's a dark sky initiative, like with the hospital's new lights, because that's where it came off, because they're so bright over there right now. So I think if we replace ours, we probably will maybe get some attention on it. So probably a good idea to.
We have minimal light poles out there. We have 3 light poles in the Sawtooth lot.
Are you gonna add any? Or is it?
No, it's just gonna go on the existing poles.
Just existing,
So
okay.
basically, what we're gonna do is replace the heads.
Okay.
So all the poles will stay. So we're not like overlit by any means.
Right.
You know, so I don't anticipate.
I can testify to that.
Yeah, okay.
Are we appropriately lit? We're not overlit, are we appropriately lit?
That could be debatable. I mean, really, it's,
Well, the camera can see through, you know. Good camera.
yeah, I mean, and I'll find out here what we have on, you know, the specs on the lights that Hunt Electric recommended.
Sure.
But it definitely won't be a car dealership.
Yeah.
No,
I
we're
mean,
not.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely be curious to know, like, what that, like, Kelvin rating is, and just make sure, that we get below that threshold. So, and I don't know if that's like, is that, like, the specific bulbs, are those spelled out in the proposal that we were working with right now? Or is
Yeah,
that just
trying to-
is that a
Trying
placeholder?
to retrieve that right now.
I like
Right
the
now we
idea of
have
being concerned about the neighbors.
Furnish and install
Really
7
good.
80-watt, furnish and install 7 80-watt Keystone retrofit LED kits in the existing fixtures on the 14-foot poles. Furnish and install 710-watt Keystone retro LED kits for the 20-foot poles. And install 243-watt LED fixtures on the 20-foot poles. And I believe those are in the center of the sawtooth lot.
See, so they were
So,
710 watt LED, and there, I didn't catch the.
no, actually, the bid sorry, let me do this again, I was on the wrong one. So furnish and install 7 57-watt LED fixtures on the 14-foot poles.
So 57 watts?
Yeah. And then furnish and install 9 143-watt on the 20-foot poles.
Okay.
And I'd have to do my homework on,
Yeah, I mean, I would just be interested, like, so that if you talk to, you know, people in that industry, I mean, they would know what the temperature of that, the color temperature is kind of the.
yeah, and maybe I can get an idea from Ryan tomorrow, and I can send an email out to everybody.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I don't know where that leaves us right now. I mean, personally, I wouldn't want to vote on it without, if it's in the contract that we're getting these, like, super bulbs, I don't want to vote for it personally, you know what I mean? If we can, like, approve with that amendment or whatever, that's just kind of like my personal
This is-
sitting on this.
This is to approve, to have the public hearing.
Okay.
So it's not approving the,
We are not approving the bid at this point.
Gotcha, so there's, the specifics can,
Approving to move forward with the bond process.
Okay.
That's all this is. The specifics
Sure.
are later on, and we'll work with you on that.
Okay.
Share with you
to
that
be able to
information.
have
If we move forward with it.
the.
sure, and we may hear about it at that hearing,
Mhm.
more from other people.
And then I have a question. We have, our light doesn't go into the sky, right?
It's a
focused
directed
down.
down.
They're
Correct.
down.
Okay, good questions. Any other questions on this? Because once we approve this, then at our next meeting, then we'll have this,
We open the hearing.
the hearing.
Public hearing.
Yeah, this gives the ability to advertise for the public hearing, that'll run the paper on.
Okay. And so that will be part of our, you know, we'll have that as part of our regular meeting on June 21st.
And Steve Funkel said he will come up.
He will be here for that, okay.
If you approve it.
If we approve it, okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Do we need to do a roll call on the resolution?
Is there a resolution?
I don't know. Member Blank introduced the following resolution.
Don't need a roll call.
Don't, okay.
Okay, everyone that said aye, please say aye again. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Okay, motion carries. I'm just looking, it's in, here. Are we sure? I don't want to move on.
Did somebody introduce it and somebody second it?
No.
Well,
It doesn't need
yes.
to be.
We did have that.
It was written by Steve Pumper the way that it's in our,
Okay.
Okay.
And Debbie
so you can do
Carey.
a roll call if you want to, so you cover your tracks.
Yep, we have Deb.
Second.
All right, so Member White introduced the following resolution and moved its adoption, which the motion was seconded by Member Jansen. Resolution relating to proposed property tax abatement for parking lot improvement project at the K through 12 school building. Okay, and I will do roll call just in case. Lundy, aye.
Hanson, aye. White, aye.
Gatto, aye.
Shirley, aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. 9.12, to approve revised Indian policies and procedures.
And that is in your packet. And I know Maria Burnett's here tonight. We did have a meeting with Ms. Burnett, myself, Ms. Backlund, with, what is their title? Carrie Butterworth from Washington DC, who reviews the IPPs for.
Is she from Washington or
She's federal. She's federal.
She's federal.
Federal rep.
Okay.
And so we reviewed that with our federal rep, made the appropriate changes. LIEC also went over these changes. The changes are in your document in red. And so this is an updated version of the IPP that LIC is in agreement with, and we're recommending this to the board.
Right, they got the proposed copy of the changes that she suggested we do, and then at our LIC meeting next week, Wednesday, they'll get that final draft.
Oh, they get the final.
Lori sent, the one that she sent in.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Just nothing catastrophic that were changed here. A lot of it was you needed to include this, you needed to include that, and we made those changes.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Does Maria have anything else she wants to add, or?
Oh, no, I'm just tired, I've had too long.
That's all.
It's a long day.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Okay, now we are at 10.0 personnel items. 10.1 to approve the hire of school counselor Megan Trumper at 1.0 FTE MA/C.
I'll make a motion to approve the hire of Megan Trumper.
Second?
Okay, discussion.
I don't know if you have anything to add, Dr. DeWitt or Mr. Dorr?
We're very excited to have her, and her family has a cabin without running water. So she'll be excited to be here, so she's a good, she's really great. Yeah. She's very willing to be here. She'll come up to do a handoff with Mr. Hoffman
Nice.
early here in June, and then she'll also work in August to start the school year, so scheduling will be set to go, and they have a good transition plan ready. So,
Great to hear. Thank you very much for putting this information, whoever did that, thank you. We have the person's name, what we're hiring them for, years of experience, placement on the salary. Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, I think that's great, and well, because you gave me something, I want even more now. You know, it just says masters, and I assume, you know, that her masters goes with what we're hiring her for, but more detail doesn't hurt.
Sure.
But this is great.
Yeah, thank you.
I do think it's great. Just a titch more. Since you're giving me something, give me an inch, I want to know.
Wait a minute, what do you mean?
well, like some folks will have a master's in literacy or master's.
No, I know, but it's the placement on the salary schedule that.
No, it says
Oh, up above.
education level and or certificates, and it just
Oh,
says
okay.
masters. But you know, it would be lovely to know, I mean theoretically, Masters has many, many areas. And I would just love to have,
Hers is in professional counseling, but
that's nice,
yeah.
that's nice
I
to
should have
know,
written that
you
down,
know?
yeah.
And oftentimes we are in the position as a small district that we hire people that, you know, it's just, we wiggle them around a little bit. And so
But
it's
we
just-
get variances.
It's nice to know how much we're wiggling and, you know, I respect your judgment and the whole team's judgment, but I like to see these things.
Any other discussion?
Cool.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 10.2 to approve early childhood special education teacher Autumn Hood at 1.0 FTE, MA/B.
Make a motion to approve.
I will second.
Any comments?
Miss Hood is a fantastic candidate. The interview committee selected her. She teaches preschool currently in our school. She has a master's in literacy, a special education degree, and early childhood degree. So she's very well qualified, and we're lucky that she's decided to move in this direction.
Yes.
It will be a great loss to the preschool, but she'll be here working with the preschool kids. So,
Great.
yeah.
So the
We will be
next thing we'll
posting
see
for
is
preschool.
posting for
kids,
preschool.
Yeah, posting.
Yeah.
It's great news that she's doing that. That's great.
Yeah, she's
very,
yeah.
very good.
Yes, yes.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 10.3 to approve hire of K-12 art teacher Mila Horak at 1.0 FTE BA/A.
I'll make a motion to approve hiring Mila as the K-12 art teacher.
I happily second it.
Okay, any other, any discussion?
Miss Mila is here at the meeting, and
Yep.
she is in the process of getting her art teaching license and through the portfolio process this summer. So,
Great.
Was noticing your students' artwork in the hallway. I think it speaks very highly of your role as a teacher.
That's great.
Thanks for putting it in the hallway. So I see it.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 10.4 to approve hire social studies teacher Andy Fedma at 1.0 FTE BA/A.
I'll make a motion to approve the hire of social studies teacher Andy Fatima.
That's correct.
Fedma, oh, thank you.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Fantastic interview, fantastic, I just spent the day with him. We toured town a little bit, and he looked at a couple rentals and showed him around town. And he came in to get curriculum materials already, wants to get started early, he plans on moving in early June, so that he can get a start. Very, very impressed with the maturity of him.
Yeah, I interviewed him as well, and young guy, he's kind of a farm boy, you know, knows how to live in a small town and kind of roll up his sleeves and be a jack of all trades, and had a really nice personality, so, yeah.
Great, exciting. That's great. Any other discussion?
Another random question as I'm thinking this through. Have these continued to be like pretty much unanimous with the interview teams? Everybody's really in favor of all our.
yeah, I guess we keep track of it all and we vote on it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're not, okay. Thank you, Superintendent.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Let's just say that
That is the recommendation.
Okay, no?
we are very big fans of all of the recommendations before you. We are.
Good.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 10.5 to approve the hire of ADSIS paraprofessional Sharon Grand Marais per paraprofessional contract.
She's the way better now.
I will make a motion
Okay.
to hire Sharon Van Roos.
And you said Gettle? Did you say second? Okay. Okay, I don't know what ADSIS stands for?
Alternative Delivery School Intervention System.
specialized
specialized
instruction
instruction supports
services maybe?
services.
It was that special grant that we approved, help
Maybe
kids,
it's like-
they work with our,
It's a grant that we have,
Okay.
and it's, what it's designed to do is provide support to our students. The way we wrote it, it's specifically in the area of math and reading, and it's to catch students so that they don't enter into special education.
Okay.
It's
And we wrote
called
it.
Alternative Delivery of Specialized Instructional Services.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela.
So this is a grant-funded position, or
I-
it was?
It's funded very similar to special education. Actually, it is funded through special education, but it is a general education program.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So are we,
So in other words, we get, if we pay $1, for every dollar we spend, we actually are paying 45 cents. And 55 cents is being provided through the grant for special education.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 10.6 to approve hire of middle school language arts teacher Amanda Beal, 1.0 FTE MA/B.
So moved.
Second.
We are very fortunate to hire Amanda. She's an outstanding teacher. It's not fortunate that I get to still have her as a staff member.
She was at Lake Superior, right?
Correct.
So-
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I you guys interviewed, I don't know.
yeah, it was fantastic, we're excited for her. And I think she has family working in town, I think.
She does, husband works for the force.
Great. Nice. Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. 10.7 to approve unpaid medical leave request for kindergarten teacher Stephanie Lindstrom for the 2018-19 school year. A motion so we can,
I'll make the motion to approve the unpaid medical leave for Stephanie.
I will second it.
and our superintendent's gonna have.
So, I'm not sure if it was the request for her is for a year. And I'm not sure if we got that request in here. Yes, we did get the letter.
We
She-
received it of paper.
Yep.
Yep.
I do have, the concerns, or my recommendation would be to accept the contingent upon that the contract language is met as written in the contract. And the reason I'm saying that is because at this point in time, we don't have what it states in the contract has not been met fully. And as soon as we get that, if the board moves to accept this and approve this, as soon as we get whatever the contingency pieces that I mentioned that haven't been met yet, then we, as administration, can then move forward and post the position. So this would be, what she's asking for is a year. And as you can see in there, if she did take the year, and through discussion with myself, the request that by April 1st, 2019, she would then indicate to us, to myself or the administrators in writing, what her intentions are, should we come back or not. Putting responsibility back on her, she still needs to meet what the medical conditions, which would be doctor's notes stating how long they recommend the leave that keep for. And those are the conditions that I'm referencing.
And at this time, you recommend the acceptance of this?
That we accept the contingent
Contingent.
upon meeting the language of the contract.
So does the motion have to be amended to say that?
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, White, are you willing to amend the motion to include the acceptance?
I make a motion to amend the what did I second in first place? My motion to include the contingency that she, the requirements, contract.
language.
And I still second it.
Okay. Amended motion, great. Any other discussion?
In the event that she doesn't meet that contingency, what is that?
Then
She just,
it would not move forward.
sure.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Okay, now I need a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:03.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for coming.